If I can have everyone's attention, please, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the August meeting of the Wilson County Board of Zoning Appeals. Do we have anyone this morning who has a case on our agenda that wishes to withdraw or have your case deferred to another meeting? And if not, the agenda will remain as posted. We have a court reporter here with us this morning that's taken a record of our proceedings. That is done at the expense of Wilson County. If you would like a transcript of a particular case, that would be at your expense, and you can get that transcript by seeing the court recorder at the conclusion of our meeting. Just a reminder to everyone, if you would please silence your cell phones. And at this time, if you are going to make a statement in front of the board, you'll have to be sworn in. So if you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give before this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. When we call each case, I'll read the case particulars. Staff will give us their recommendations. Whoever represents that case can come to the podium, please. Give us your name and address for the record. We'll let you make whatever statement you'd like to, and then after that, if someone else would like to speak in support or in opposition to the case, you're welcome to do so after the applicant. And as I mentioned, we'll have staff recommendations on each case, and the board will be considering their recommendations as we render our decision. Just for everyone's information, we are part of the Wilson County TV program, so this meeting will be taped and available on YouTube and other platforms after the meeting. And the state now requires us to have a general comment period before each meeting. So, and this is not a comment period regarding any case. You know, you're welcome to speak on the case as the case is called, but the state now requires us to have a public comment period, a general comment period. So is anyone that we know of, Mr. Bashir, signed up for the general comment period?
I'm not aware of anyone.
Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to the board on a general comment basis? And if there's not, I will close the general public comment period then. To the members of the board, you have the minutes that were sent to you earlier this month regarding our July 20th meeting. You've had a chance to review those. Do I have any corrections to the July minutes? And if not, do I hear a motion we approve minutes from July?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on July 20 minutes approval? And if not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Okay. Our first case is deferred from the July meeting. It's case 4103. Angie Hyman is requesting to use property for a wedding venue. Property is located at 7325 Lebanon Road, parcel 17 on Wilson County Tax Map 55. The property consists of 4.36 acres. It's zoned A1 agricultural. We'll get staff recommendations now on 4103.
Mr. Chairman, wedding venues are generally permissible as a use by right under state ag law on properties over 15 acres or on other properties which otherwise meet provisions for agricultural use as granted by the state of Tennessee. However, because this property is only 4.36 acres and wedding venues are not a specific use listed or use listed on appeal as being permitted within A1 zone properties under 15 acres, staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4103? Yes, sir.
Jason Hyam, Angie Hyam, my wife. Live at 7325 Lebanon Road. I understand that it's approved on over 15 acres, but we only have 4.36. However, there are other wedding venues in Wilson County. I don't have their exact names, but I could get them that are under and around our acreage. So, and then our neighbors, we've talked to them specifically, do not have an issue with us doing this. We live on site, so, you know, we can be there at all events. And we have the land and the parking to do everything adequately and professionally.
It says, notice in your application, it says that you have parking for 75 vehicles. You're expecting as many as 300 people, and then you would have off-site parking and shuttle buses and things of that nature. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, we would have off-site parking partners. There are commercial buildings just down the road from us.
Test, 1, 2, 3, test.
Which we're only approximately less than that do not operate during those hours. Be able to accommodate off-site parking. Like I said in the notes, that we would have professionally hired shuttle buses.
Questions from the board for the applicant?
How many, that, as far as the off-site parking where you have the larger crowd, how many events a year do you think you would,
I think it
and
would be very-
that may, you know, you may not know that, but I mean, what?
Yeah, from our research, we expect most events to be less than 100. And then, you know, that 150 range, probably 20%, and anything over that, it's probably gonna be less than 10%.
But I guess the off-site parking issue for me would be, understand your event starts at a certain time, they get everybody to the event. When my car's a half mile down the road, I want to leave at whatever time, and there may be a shuttle bus, or may not be one. I mean, you know, I could see some logistics on getting people from the event back to their vehicle, because they're not all going to leave at one time.
No,
possibly.
sure,
And somebody decides they're going to walk back down there because it's a half a mile. I don't know.
and they would be staged on site throughout the day. So it's not like they're gonna leave and then
Right.
come back 3 hours later.
Okay.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, you stated that your partners for parking closed. Well, you've got written down here that Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. Those businesses are probably going to be open on Thursday and Friday, I would say. In fact, I know some of them are because
Sure.
I frequent them.
Yep. We do not expect and don't foresee any larger events being during the middle of the day. Our assumption is that any larger events would typically be on a Friday or Saturday night.
So you have an agreement with those businesses that you can use their parking facilities?
I don't have them in place yet, but I have spoken to them.
Other questions for the applicant?
Tom, can you elaborate whether or not that there are other venues in this county? I know of quite a few, and they are at 15 acres or more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there are many
I'm
that are
not
less
sure.
than 4 acres.
I'm not sure. The only thing I can elaborate on is that there are uses on appeal that could be viewed as similar in nature, such as churches and country clubs, that would be uses permissible on appeal with certain criteria met with regard to traffic and everything. Karen, are you aware of any wedding venues that are on smaller acreages?
One that came before the board not too long ago, just to get some requirements changed. It was on Lebanon Road.
That one's 17 acres.
Was it 17?
That's what I
Okay.
say.
Either 15 or 17 acres.
Okay.
On
They
Green
just
Bay.
didn't claim ag, I think,
Yeah.
and that's why they came back before the board.
Tom, let me ask,
Uh-huh.
if I could, when we have these things on the larger tracks, you know, they're used by right in the 15 acre plus categories. But when you're on a smaller parcel like this, as you mentioned, they're not. how do, you know, we've got, this is a federal highway, this is a business, they're operating for profit. How do you deal with the commercial regulations that may or may not come into play, like, you know, paid parking, landscaping, stormwater, et cetera?
On something like this, on a wedding venue, it's not been broached at all. I know on churches, we don't require paved parking unless it's on a state or federal highway.
Right, right.
Yeah, now, and landscaping standards don't typically apply to churches, which would be the closest similar use, I would imagine, that or
But
country club.
what's the difference between this particular venue? It's for profit, it's out
Yeah.
on a highway, it's a commercial enterprise. Why is it, can I just say I'm a wedding venue and not have to do any of these things?
At present, yes. I mean, if that's what your operation is,
Okay.
because it's not commercially zoned. Our commercial standards typically don't apply under zoning unless you're commercially zoned, or unless this board so chooses to require that the commercial standards be met
And
as
what are
outlined.
we zoned here, A1?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Anyone else have a question for the applicant?
Not for applicant, but I've got a concern. I guess where I come from, we're saying 15 acres. Going down to less than 5 is a pretty good sizable cut. And I know your intentions are well, your plan is wonderful, so don't get me wrong with that. But you may not always be the owner, and you may not always have the same neighbors that are there now. So if you're taking 300 or 400 people and putting them in that little area on the back of this lot, it's, that's kind of my concerns.
And I understand that. I guess that if we, everything else is, do you take into concern when someone comes in for a development and about future neighbors? Or are you taking about the current?
No, I think really what I'm focused on here, is the 15 acres going down to less than 5. It's just,
If we
the
were
regulations
to-
they were put there for some reason. And I think it's a very valid reason where you have room to operate. That's my only concern.
If we were to size it down to, say, 150 people, would that make
Are you on sewer?
that acceptable?
Septic? So you got 300 people on septic?
Well, we would
Potentially.
have air-conditioned restrooms on site that portable on trailers.
This is a little bit of a new thing for us, to me. I mean, having a venue this large in A1, but on such a small track. Normally, they've been quite a bit larger. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Does anyone else wish to address 4103? Hyman? Okay, that's fine. I'll close the public comment period on that case then and back to the board. In regard to 4103, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we deny this case based on staff recommendations.
Have a motion to deny 4103. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crockett. All right, discussion by the board? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Okay, our next case is case 4112. James Todd is requesting a variance of 9 feet from the east side yard setback requirement of 10 feet. The variance will allow the proposed cabana to be 1 foot from the east side property line. The property is located at 1203 Ben Forcum Drive, Lot 38, Reserve at Horn Springs, being Group A, Parcel 11 on Tax Map 35H. The property consists of 15,457 square feet and is zoned R1 residential. Get staff recommendations now on 4112.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a refund for inadequate facilities tax that was paid.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Applicant is requesting a variance of 9 feet from the east side yard setback requirement of 10 feet. The zoning ordinance states that accessory structures on R1 zone property must be a minimum of 10 feet from the side property line. This is not an older lot of record, therefore staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4112? Todd? No one? Okay. It is our policy that if the applicant is not available when the case is called, we will defer the case until the end of the meeting. We'll call for it one more time before the meeting is over. So we'll just set Todd aside and we'll come back to him. Okay, let's move on to 4113. Tim Stockton, representing Stockton Building Corporation, requesting a refund for the adequate facilities tax that was paid twice. The adequate facilities tax was paid on August the 10th of '22 and again on November 19th of '22. The property is located at 127 Tate Lane in the city of Mount Juliet. We have staff recommendations now on 4113.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a refund for an adequate facilities tax that was paid twice. Refunds, waiver, or reimbursements have typically only been granted in instances of failure to build or changes in circumstances resulting in a lack of constructed unit that would be required to pay the adequate facilities tax. Additionally, some waivers have been accommodated legislatively for fire or disaster replacement or for historical structures, I might add, that are being moved.
Okay, who's here to represent 4113? Stockton.
Good morning.
Morning. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Tim Stockton, 317 Possum Hollow Road, Watertown.
All right. How'd you do this?
Senior moment. Actually, I had paid it the first time, and there was some time lapse with the city of Mount Juliet getting permit. Some delays there, yeah. And a couple of changes that were made on drawings, and then when it came back up, it was ready. I had just did not go back and check my records to see that I'd paid it the first time.
So
I paid it twice.
The same lot, same amount of money, as I think this shows, paid twice. Well, I don't think, sometimes people want refunds way down the road and things of that nature, but this is just a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, questions from the board for the applicant? If not, does anyone else wish to address 4113 Stockton? If not, I'll close the public comment period. And in regard to 4113, we'll have a motion. And I'll move we approve 4113 request based on the fact this was a mistake and resulted in the applicant paying twice.
I might mention or add that he only gets refund for one of them.
That's true. That's
Just
right.
for
So
the record.
he's only requested one, hasn't he?
Well, I guess that's what he requested. I just want to be real clear on that.
Yes, just a refund for one.
Okay.
I don't think it was the intent of the rule, the law, or the legislation for anybody to pay the same thing twice within 2 or 3 months of each other. It doesn't expire, does it?
They're only good for 30 days.
It what?
They're only good for 30
They're only
days.
good- They're only good for 30 days. They're on that is mentioned on the receipt because the building permit is supposed to be pulled within 30 days.
That's not in the private act, is it?
Yes, it is.
I think it's something somebody's come up with.
6, private act, 6 pages. I looked at it, no, I don't remember
It's in the private act.
The only time it comes up is on the city AFT, the AFT payments that are made for permits in the city, because most of the time, if you're pulling a permit in the county, you're paying the AFT and immediately applying for the building permit, so you're getting it the same day. But the only time this comes up is on permits that are requested in the city, because they've got to take the AFT receipt and get to the city counter within that timeline. And I'm fairly positive Karen is correct. I've read through it several times. It's been a while myself, but I do think the 30 days is in there.
It is in there. I apologize for not making a copy of that. I should have.
I'm trying
put
to
in your
think
packet. I can explain probably the reasoning for it being in there. Well, not necessarily in the private act, but because I didn't see the private act before it got approved or however it was enacted. The 30 days is in there because when they first started with the adequate facilities tax of $1,000 in 2003, then they went up in 2005 to $3,000. And to prevent people from coming in and just paying an adequate facilities tax and holding on to the receipt for however long until they're ready to pull the permit, they put the 30 days on there.
I think they were trying to avoid somebody paying it 2 years ahead of time in case the AFT went up.
Yes, and that is to prevent from paying so far ahead of time in case it does go up. But I can't speak.
That's not the case here.
No, I was just answering your question.
No, and in this instance, I will point out, Mr. Stockton did provide new information with regard to some delays that were sounds like they were subject to the processes of the city of Mount Juliet's permit.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That 30 days might have had a good reasoning point at the time it was put in there, but it didn't consider the fact that you may pay the adequate facilities tax and then get caught up in the regulatory requirements for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board or further discussion?
Who made the second?
Mr. Neal.
Second.
Any discussion by the board? All in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Stockton, I will need a written request just for that reason.
Our next case is case 4114. Ashley Chance is requesting a variance of 12 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 20 feet. The variance will allow the proposed house to be 8 feet from the west property line. Applicant is also needing a variance from the lot width requirement of 125 feet. The property is located at 809 Pebble Cove Road, Lot 21. Crutchfield property is Group C, Parcel 14 on Wilson County, Map 24H. The property consists of .45 acres, zoned A1 agricultural. You get to staff recommendations now on 4114.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a 12-foot variance from the west side yard requirement of 20 feet, leaving 8 feet to the property line for their proposed home. The zoning ordinance states that the primary structures on A1 zone property must be a minimum of 20 feet from the side property line. This is an older tract of record, with the lot being initially created in November 8th, 1961. Therefore, staff can recommend approval. And as is our practice, because this is a non-conforming older lot of record, we did throw the variance for the lot width in there just so there wasn't a future cloud on the title based on zoning. I believe they have approximately 76 feet of road frontage, roughly 80 foot of lot width at the front building setback line. So that's what that variance is for.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4114 Chance? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to tell of name and address, please?
Tim Chance, 1097 Trice Road in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Anything you'd like to tell the board, sir?
This was a mistake on my part. Probably should have had this done before. We went to get the building permit. We did as much homework as we could on the property. As he stated, it's an older property. We go through and we look at I'm actually building the house, so we go through and look at, the houses that are in there on certain, and I actually was thinking maybe it's a zero lot line. I should have done a little bit more homework on that. But it's not. It's going to be very difficult to put, my house is 56 feet wide approximately, so it's going to be very difficult. I'm good on the east side, not good on the west side, and there's no way that I'm going to ever be able to take, unless I take the house to the very complete back, and that'll put me at a lot more cost for septic pump uphill and possibly a interceptor drain too.
District 18?
So I wanted to put the house right there in the middle,
I'm sorry.
and I'm 12 foot short on one side. I'm good on the east side, 12 foot short on the west.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant? If not, does anyone else here wish to address 4114, Chance? Yes, ma'am.
Lauren Breeze, County Commissioner for District 18, which, if you note on your documentation, it says that this is located within District 18, and it is not. This is actually in Lebanon, and I believe it's Jerry McFarland's district, which is
Yeah, it's out on
5.
off Man Road, I think.
That's what it looks like.
yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that this is not actually located in District 18.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Anyone else? If not, then I'll close the public hearing in regard to 4114 and turn to the board for discussion or motion. I don't know whether you mentioned it or not, Tom. This backs up against the core, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. This one kind of threw me for a minute. I had to think. Parts of Pebble Cove certainly do, and I think this does as well.
Okay. 4114, discussion or motion.
I make a motion that we approve this per staff recommendation.
Have a motion to approve 4114 based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board. There is no discussion. All in favor of the motion as stated, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition, vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you. Go right ahead. Our next case is case 4115, Ruth Ann Davis requesting to use property as short-term rental. The applicant is also requesting a variance from the 2-acre minimum requirement. The property is located at 919 Celeste Court, Lot 259, Villages of Cedar Creek, Group C, Parcel 9, Wilson County Tax Map 50D. The property consists of .39 acres and is on R1 residential. We get staff recommendations now on 4115.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to use this property as a short-term rental. Staff has received a business plan stating how the applicant considers using the property. If the use is granted, staff recommends that the business plan be made a part of the approval and put the applicant on notice that if they're there to add any sort of structure or expansion to the use of the property, they'll need to come back before the board for a plot plan submittal and revised business plan approval. The business plan states the maximum number of guests allowed per stay is 4. The business plan does not state how many rooms are in the home. If granted, the board typically approves 2 tenants per bedroom to make sure that the septic system on the property can serve the intended use. Staff will need the PERC records on the original number of bedrooms in the home to designate a maximum amount of guests, or in the alternative of proof of public sewer connection. The business plan states that the caretakers are located on the same property as this short-term rental. Airbnb and short-term rentals are a use permissible on appeal in the R1 zone district and have a minimum acreage requirement in the R1 district of 2 acres. The property in question has only .39 acres, therefore, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4115?
Hi,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
Stillman. First, I want
Name
to,
and address for the record,
Oh.
please, ma'am.
Ruth Davis Stillman, and I am at 919 Celeste Court, Mount Juliet.
Okay, go right ahead.
I was sent a notice of violation, and I had called to find out who had filed the complaint, and I was shown this. which, as you can see, was an incomplete form with nobody's information, just this
Okay, hold it
count.
up right there. Who filed the complaint?
It's county personnel.
They were driving by and just happened to see this.
I don't know if the commissioner filed the complaint, more than likely, it could have been.
Because we're not doing this up here for some people and other people not now. If-
Right.
If you require that those complaints be signed, then require it. And if a county person, just, hold on just a moment. If county personnel saw this just driving by, that's fine. But they need to have done that. This doesn't need to come in off of some anonymous complaint. And I'd like to have that followed up on.
Fair enough.
Commissioner, I'll give you a chance just in a minute. Go right ahead.
Okay, so I came, and it says clearly on here that if this is not filled out and complete, that no action will be taken. And then I received this because of the action. So I came down and I found out who my commissioner was, Lauren Breeze, and I called and received no response. After that, I started looking into the laws. I've lived in this community since my children were 1 year old. They're now 27. And I love this community. I've moved twice, stayed in Mount Juliet. I care about my home. I don't invite people into my home to trash. Nobody's playing loud music. Zero complaints from the neighbors. Everybody's well behaved. So my question is, also, when I looked up the information, I found that Tennessee Code 68-14-502 states that, yes, a bed and breakfast establishment has certain rules and size requirements. However, Section B states that a bed and breakfast homestay, which is what I am, referred to in this part as homestay, means private home in or other unique residential facility offering bed and breakfast accommodations and one daily meal. I offer no meals. And having less than 4 guest rooms. I have 2 guest rooms. They were the rooms that my sons grew up in that are now empty. This is not some big run business that I'm trying to foist upon my little community. Anyway, less than 4 guest rooms furnished for pay, with guests staying not more than 14 days. That's a homestay. That's me. I'm staying in this home. This is not, I've bought a whole bunch of properties and I'm gonna Airbnb them out to everybody. No, I live there. So I'm not inviting people to come have raucous parties or anything like that. My property is on sewer and has a septic. So I have both options. There's no problems with sewer or septic, which I believe is the initial intent of why they put a 2-acre size on the Airbnbs, because of an establishment. If you had more than 4 guest rooms, you would need a larger sewer system. So I'm asking to be approved as a homestay Airbnb.
Just so you're aware, ma'am, this requirement for 2 acres was put in place by the county commission a few years ago when they established this criteria, and we have never varied from it.
You have 9,990 feet for someone else.
You have one time.
One time.
For a homestay, for someone staying in the house.
And I'm exactly that same
And the
situation.
criteria was, I didn't think we'd ever done that.
Just one time. You did grant a variance for somebody for, I think she's correct, approximately 10,000 square foot variance, 9,000 square foot variance.
My property is larger
From the
than that.
2-acre requirement for one individual to allow people to stay in a downstairs bedroom.
Wasn't that a handicap?
My
No.
home is handicap
No,
accessible.
ma'am, if you'll just let me speak, and when I'm talking to him, I'll talk to you. We'll get back to
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm not
Wasn't
trying
that
to
a
disrespect.
handicap request?
I don't believe so. It was a lady that was staying in the house and she wanted to rent out her basement.
I just can't imagine we did that.
And what was her lot size?
Her lot size was smaller, and she was wanting to rent out her basement. And
She
I-
got a 10-foot, her lot 10,000 square feet being 2 acres, or her lot was only 10,000 square foot? There's a big
I
difference
don't
there.
remember, I would have
I'd-
to look
I'd have
at
to
the
pull I'd have to pull
Her
specific-
lot was
But it was less than-
9,990.
Her property was less than 2 acres.
I have made this same statement many times. Nobody said a word.
No, we have before, I have before. Where someone was staying in the house, you've done it one time, but that's the only time I know of.
And I think that was, I would have to pull the minutes, but I think that was the only reason why it was being approved is because she was staying in the house. She was living there and she was basically renting out a bedroom in her basement.
And that's.
But I would have to pull the exact case to remember exactly.
It was in a neighborhood up off Saundersville Road, if that helps you with recollection at all.
Right off.
Excuse me, who's got
Bessemer.
the cell phone? This- But it's a little hard to hear with things buzzing, but yes, sir, go ahead.
We have gone under the 2 acres before, depending on the zoning. Because I remember that.
We have,
Nate-
because A1 does not.
A1 does not have the 2 acre requirement.
But this is not,
This is R1.
so we have gone under the 2 acre. if it's actually
But that's not a requirement in the A1 district. It's only a requirement in the R1 district.
So is there different criteria for a homestay versus,
No, sir.
no?
It's just an action this board took.
So.
Go ahead with what you were saying.
What it says here is that, this is the Tennessee laws. It says that, guests not seeing more than 14 feet, okay. Commissioner, means commissioner, that the homestay, the bed and breakfast establishments are, need to abide by the commissioner's laws, but that the homestays do not. I'm in this home, I'm protecting my home, I'm not gonna have any kind of big ruckus, I'm not gonna allow anything, I'm not even gonna approve anything that I would suspect would be that way.
So, are you saying that, I'm assuming you're reading some kind of state law there, that it says the homestay does not have to go by county zoning? Is that what you just stated?
Yeah, it does not have to go by commissioners, it says.
I would respectfully disagree with
I
that.
think you're wrong.
But I will say that the state law on homestays, bed and breakfast do preclude us in certain instances from taking local zoning action. But the criterion I'm aware of are for operations that started prior to approximately May of 2018, when the state law was passed. We passed our law, I believe, in March of 2018. And then the state came in with a law that said anything prior to our legislation will be grandfathered so long as they've been paying state property tax or state taxes on the operation, and so long as they do not have record of felonious activity. And I think they get, after that point, those grandfathered uses, if you will, get 3 strikes on a felonious activity type circumstance that we can then go back in and enforce local authority on them. But that's the only thing that I know of that we're precluded from local zoning enforcement of.
Okay. Anything else, ma'am?
So Tennessee Code 68-14-503, Section B, homestays shall be exempt from the rules and regulations applicable to bed and breakfast establishments, and the commissioner shall not be required to inspect or issue permits for such facilities. Homestays shall be regulated by the state fire marshal in accordance with minimum statewide building construction standards applicable to residential property composed of 1 and 2 family units in the same manner as such property would be regulated if it were not used as a bed and breakfast homestay. I keep my home very safe. I put extra fire alarms in it. I care about my property. My neighbors have no complaints. And I wouldn't ever put anybody that would cause them reason to complain. I am asking for a variance.
My belief is that criterion, and this is just my speculation because I'm not looking at the law, but my belief is that criterion has to do with where the state fire marshal is required to come in and inspect something. At best, at the local level, it might apply to local building codes compliance.
I would say that is a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else wish to address 4115? You can step back just a minute, let the commissioner speak. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lauren Breeze. I'm the County Commissioner for District 18. First, I would like to apologize to you. I never got a message or a phone call from you. I never received anything. So I would have called you back. So we don't need to get into this right
Ma'am,
now, but I
Commissioner,
want
if
you
you
to
would
know.
address us,
Yes.
not her.
So, anyway, I'm the one who actually filed the complaint with codes because I got complaints from citizens in the neighborhood. So, to make that clear, going forward, Karen, in that situation, if you'd like, go ahead and use my name as opposed to staff recommendation. So
that
that's where it
is-
came
Let me
from.
stop at this point and just
Okay.
say, we have noted a few times here that these different ways that things get reported and recorded is a problem. If the staff's gonna say that if you're gonna make a complaint, you gotta sign your name to it, and that's what they tell me. If I wanna complain about my neighborhood, I have to sign my name. But if you're a commissioner, you don't. That has caused problems. And just so you're aware that that's going on, and we've asked them not to do it, but that's certainly not the way I think it should be conducted.
I understand. Are you saying that you would like me to use my name, or are you saying
I'm
that
saying
I
that-
won't, that you're asking county commissioners not to lodge complaints for citizens?
No.
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 Okay, I'm
What
just trying to
saying is,
clarify and
whatever the
understand.
policy is, it should be the same for everyone. If they require me to sign my name for a complaint in my district,
Right.
then if you turn in a complaint that you have seen or some constituent has made you aware of, and you're gonna make the staff aware of it, then they should put on the form, reported by Commissioner Lauren Breeze.
But that's understandable. I didn't realize that wasn't being done.
I understand, but I just want you to
So-
be aware that this is happening, and it has,
Thank you.
from time to time, been a problem.
Well,
Mr.
I
Chairman.
apologize for any issues.
Yes, sir.
For the record, I will tell you that Karen is in the process of addressing this matter with each commissioner, asking them if they would sign their name to it. I will tell you that the initial request not to have the commissioner's name signed to it came from a previous county commissioner who got the policy enacted.
Enacted? Who
That-
enacted
that- I believe the county commission asked that we do it that way, but I'll have to go back and look. But that being said, I don't have any problem with everybody signing their name to a complaint, and as I stated, Karen left the room, so I'll state it for her record. I was just explaining to them that you're in the process of notifying commissioners as they call in that we would prefer that they sign the,
Yes, I had talked to Lauren, basically I think it was this week, or it may have been last
I
week.
think it was last week we discussed this.
Last week, and I had told her that I needed to use her name on the complaints.
And this may be some surprise, but I don't like that policy. I think it turns up emotions, neighbor against neighbor.
Oh, I agree,
I
and
think that
that's,
if you want to, sir, if you just would please stop interrupting, I'll give you an opportunity to speak just in a moment. But, if you are acting as a commissioner or acting as a citizen, turn in a complaint against someone on your street or in your neighborhood, and they come up here and your name's all over it, they don't agree with it, then that's hard feelings created. And to me,
Oh, I agree.
the only purpose of a policy of that nature, the only reasonable outcome would be for folks to be angry with each other. If the violation exists, it exists. If someone turns it in, the staff should go, they should look. If it's a real violation, no matter who turned it in. And if it's not a real violation, it's just not. They go on.
right.
But this thing, you can tell I'm somewhat aggravated because I don't think we should do things one way with one group and one way with another group. I just don't agree with that at all.
Oh, that's completely understandable.
And here we have a situation where that may or may not be done. But I appreciate you coming up.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. So anyway, so to answer the question, if you want to put my name on the complaint, which again,
If you don't
I've
mind,
been-
since you're here.
Yes.
What were the problems that the folks noted to you?
they were concerned about the transient nature of people coming in and out of their neighborhood and not knowing who they were. They also there weren't complaints necessarily about noise or anything like that I've had in the past. This was more of a safety concern.
So they
So-
weren't concerned about something that had happened, they were concerned about something they feared might happen.
Correct.
I got you,
Yes.
got you. Okay.
So, okay. Unless you have
again.
any further questions, I don't have anything else.
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Now, sir, if you'll come forward.
Sorry for
Oh,
interrupting
excuse me.
earlier.
Mr. Neal, do you have something?
No, I'm good.
Come on.
My name's Daniel Stillman, concerned tenant or occupier of 919 Celeste.
Name, address.
919/Daniel Stillman. The beginning of this is what I'm concerned with the most, and I think you're following the same line with me. That not signing your name to a complaint is like not having one, right?
I think we're addressing that.
So I think she has the information that I would be seeking in this matter, and that is who has had the problem.
No, we're not worried about who had the problem. The only thing
Well,
we're worried
that's what
about
started
is
this.
if there is a violation, it either exists or it doesn't. Who
So
reported it
proof
is
of
not
it would need
relevant.
to be established, correct?
Now, this lady is here for a variance request or a use permit request, and
But
that's
sir,
it.
in regards to that, she was brought into that situation by the paperwork of this concern, this complaint.
That may be the case, but, you know, her application
I don't
is
wanna-
for,
I don't wanna
is
stop
for the
that
use
process.
permit and, well, that's what she's here for, is a use permit, to run this, B&B or tenant housing or whatever you
Correct.
might call it.
But as this happened, this complaint form was established in your office. And that followed with a letter to our home in regards to you're in violation. So we wanted to regards why are we in violation of something? So we came to your office and were given this blank form and not told what the problem was, other than it's Airbnb, right on the paper, Airbnb. So in that regards, anyone that has had a problem saying, I don't like this happening, is more
If
of
you
what
would
they're saying. They're
address
not
the board-
saying, I don't like
Excuse me,
the
sir.
fact that there's cars in the parking lot.
Sir, if I have to
I'm
correct
sorry.
you again, you're leaving.
I'm
Okay,
a
that's-
little
that's-
bit
stop.
feeling like I'm
Stop.
targeted, sir. And it's along the same lines as,
Just stop. We're here for this hearing. We're not, you can sit down. You don't have to go anywhere. But we have to stay on point.
it's like we have a name of
Okay.
who's
Okay.
contacted
Wait.
by with fraud.
Now you can leave.
I apologize, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Blades,
I have a question.
come on back up to the podium.
Okay, it's gotta be obvious that you've been already renting this house as an Airbnb. How long have you been doing that?
I don't want to discuss that at this time because I feel like I'm targeted. Clearly I am. Because she's taking complaints from people and not answering my calls.
That's a different situation than we're here for.
I have yet to
So
know.
you don't want to answer the question, how long you've been doing this? Renting out the Airbnb?
Right.
Okay.
Karen,
Yes.
when we receive a complaint on an Airbnb, there is generally some evidence is submitted,
There-
or is found as a
There is.
result of the investigation. And what did you,
The only thing is, I would have to look it back up, because when I print the paperwork out, it does not show me that. It shows it when I look it up on the computer, but when I print information out, it doesn't show. So the only thing that I can tell you with the copies that I have, she's got 62 reviews, and it was after, it was after March of
2018?
2018. And I don't remember when it started, but it was after the fact. I think it, yeah, I just hate to say, I'd hate to guess. 21, 22, maybe I remember 2020, 21, 22.
Okay.
And during all that, you've had no noise complaints?
Ma'am.
And has there been any, this
think she's
complainant
already
who was signed by her,
testified for us.
what was her complaint?
I think she's already
Let
testified.
me ask staff a question really, really quickly. Are Airbnbs, do they not come before this board even before they've been started? They don't just come up here because of complaints. Do we not have?
No, we
people
do
come-
have people that call and ask us what the
Technically,
procedure
You're
is.
supposed to come up here before you ever even start an Airbnb.
I didn't know that.
I understand you didn't know that, but to blame all this on a complaint, that's the reason you're here, but you should have been here anyway.
Before you started.
Before
I
you ever
agree,
started,
but
you
I
should have
didn't
been
know,
here.
and that's why I'm here trying to make it right, trying to do the right paperwork.
Right, well, then you seem to be focusing all your energy on the complaint. That's not
I'm
the
not,
issue.
I'm not. I'm trying to
Okay,
do this
okay,
right,
well then-
and I'm letting you know, I would never let anybody in my home that I feel would disrupt my neighbors or myself or my property.
I think testimony's already been given that there weren't any real issues that had occurred.
Right.
Someone, right or wrong, had an issue about what they thought could possibly occur. And, that's already been stated. Now, we have to take that for what it is. So, any other questions from the board for the applicant?
One
Yes,
more.
ma'am. I got two down here. Go ahead.
I know where you are. I grew up in that area. It's a very small, not a large neighborhood at all. Homes are very, very close together. My concern is this is a .39 acre home. We have a 2 acre minimum, if I'm not correct.
As enacted by the county
That's
commission.
very much my concern with your neighbors, that this is, and you're gonna get, I'm gonna guarantee you that this won't be the last complaint that you'll get in and out of this small neighborhood right off Saundersville Road.
The other homestay, which is exactly what I am, right off Saunderville's Road with a much smaller lot than mine,
I'm
was
not,
approved.
and they probably
I
don't
feel
have an
like
Airbnb in them though, or renting them out, or whatever.
That is what she's
That's
doing.
my concern, is that road out there, in and out, and the people in this small neighborhood that's not very large. My issue is here, we have policy. We've got a 2 acre minimum on it. This is barely over a quarter of an acre. That's my concern.
Mr. Neal?
Just what she said, that the issue here is the lot size. That's the whole,
Exactly.
that's, it's 2 acres is, the guidelines. It's got nothing to do with complaints, who complained, how they complained, what they complained about, or any of that.
Well-
And you may have been doing a phenomenal job with it, but the issue before this board is, you don't have the 2 acres.
So with precedents having been set by this board previously, is okay for them.
I don't know the
With no
exact
complaints from me,
circumstances on that
it's
case,
not
but there's
okay.
been very, very little precedent, if any. There may be one out of 1,000 I don't know, I don't know the
Well,
numbers.
to be honest, most people, they're in it just for, they buy the house and they rent it out. They're not there watching the property. They don't care who's there doing whatever. I live there. I care. Just like the other woman who got approved.
Let's move on just a little here, if we could, please. Any other questions from the board for the applicant? And does anyone else wish to address 4115? Yes, sir, please come forward. If you would let him have the podium, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Board, my name is Jerry Wigger. I represent the homeowners association in which this property lies, Villages of Cedar Creek. When Miss Davis took deed to this property, she took subject to all of the benefits and restrictions that were afforded. Specifically, in Article 9, Section 1, subsection 1, it is stated that this is for land use and building type. No lot shall be used except for residential purposes. Now, what Ms. Davis is doing is she is using her lot as a business, an income maker. And you might say that that's all well and good. It could be subject to interpretation. I will tell you all that this matter, with this exact language, has already been decided by the Tennessee Court of Appeals in Shields Mountain Homeowners or Property Owners Association versus Tefteller. In that case, the exact language that is contained in the Villages of Cedar Creek was at issue. And the court, in that case, the Tennessee Court of Appeals said, with that language, it is clear and unambiguous in prohibiting short-term rental. And so there's legal precedent in addition to, I don't think that, well, I know I was not aware that it had been possibly rented 68 times, but I've been retained by this association. If this august board decides to grant that variance, we're going to have to do, I don't like to file lawsuits, but this is a clear violation of the restrictive covenants. And when Ms. Davis took that deed to the property, she took subject. Please, yes, sir.
I'm familiar with homeowner associations myself. Has the association taken her report over this issue?
Not yet, and that's what I was saying. I was not made aware of it, and
But are we not a public board and you're speaking to private restrictions?
that's true.
Does that apply to county zoning in any way whatsoever?
I was just asked to come here
I
and.
understand what you're asking. Does
and-
that apply
and
to
throw-
county zoning?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir, it doesn't.
We hear you.
We got you.
Thank you.
Still just for informational purposes.
That's right.
Anyone else wish to address the case?
I do have one question
Yes,
for
sir.
the speaker. To be clear, you are contracted and are representing the HOA
That's correct, yes.
for the villages at Cedar Creek?
Villages of Cedar Creek.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? And if not, I'll close the public hearing as it relates to 4115. Turning to the board for discussion and/or motion. The applicant has mentioned this other case that evidently we did, it's for some reason, grant a variance. And although we strive greatly to be fair to everyone and treat everyone the same, I don't remember the particulars of that case, but each case here stands on its own. Each set of circumstances is different. So, yeah, I don't remember the situation there, but whatever we did for a reason.
I've got one comment.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not one that everything has to be 100%. But when you're asking for a variance from 2 acres to this, like the case before, that's an extreme request. And it's like regulations and laws, they're all put there for a purpose. And I have a problem stretching it that far. And for the one that was passed, I don't know that I was a part of it. I don't think I was, because that was a stretch. But I think here today, making another wrong doesn't make a right. So that's where I kind of stand on that.
Okay.
Can I think?
No, ma'am. Public comments closed. However, if you have something to say that addresses what he said to you specifically, we'll allow that, but just additional comment, no.
Well, I feel that precedence has been set, and if you go against me when the board has allowed it for other people, I feel it's discriminatory.
We've heard that comment. We appreciate your
I feel
comment.
that
but-
having complaints from people who did not
Ma'am,
actually witness.
ma'am, we've heard all that. Unless you're addressing what Mr. Crockett actually said, then the public comment period is closed, and you've already told us all that. I don't mean to be ugly, but, we only need to hear it once. Okay, to the board again, in regard to 4115, do I hear a motion, or is there some discussion we need to have?
I'll make a motion that we deny based on staff recommendation.
I have a motion to deny case 4115 based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion as stated, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition, vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm going to declare a 5 to 10 minute recess. We will come back at about 10 minutes after the hour and finish the agenda. All right. If I can have everybody's attention, please, let's see if we can't get back to order and address these last two cases. I'll call the meeting back to order. Okay. Next case is case 4116, Charles Spencer, requesting a variance of 19 feet from the north side yard setback requirement of 20 feet. The variance will allow the proposed carport attached to the existing house to be 1 foot from the north side yard property line. The property is located at 426 Purnell Road, Lot 18. Spencer Creek is Group A, Parcel 20, on tax map 13-0. The property consists of 2.4 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4116.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance of 19 feet from the north side yard setback requirement of 20 feet. The zoning ordinance states the primary structures on A1 zone property must be a minimum of 20 feet from the side property line. This is an older tract of record, with the lot being created in March of 1957. Therefore, being that it's a grandfathered non-conforming lot, staff can recommend approval. While the variance may seem excessive initially, I believe he's attempting to build it somewhere off the end of the garage, off the end of the driveway, which you can see is a shared driveway between the two neighboring houses.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4116? Spencer. Yes, sir.
I'm listed as Charles Spencer, but I go by Norman Spencer. My parents did that to me. Back in the days when this lot plan was developed, the two original owners had a shared driveway. And if you look at the survey lines, the driveway starts 50% on 428 and 50% on our lot, which is 426. It starts exactly in the middle of that. Then the driveway swings a little bit to the north, which then puts it basically on 428, my neighbor's property line. Goes on down. For the past 43 years, we've all lived there and assumed that the driveway, the center of the driveway was the center of the property line. Before we built a carport, we decided to have it surveyed, and the survey showed that the driveway predominantly is on the next door neighbor's property. That's not a problem for either of us. And then if you look at that big gray area between the two houses, that's all a graveled area that we've used as a common turnaround parking area for their family, our family, etc. My wife and I are getting up in years. I know I don't look over 25, but I have two artificial hips. My wife has a knee that's getting ready to be replaced, and we decided it would be a good idea to have a carport that we could get in out of the weather to get into the house. I have a letter that Mr. Bashir suggested I bring from my next door neighbors.
Is this the person who you share a driveway with?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So that's what we are asking is what we initially thought we had by.
The letter says they're okay with it.
Yes, sir. That what we thought we had anyway by just recollection and oral history of where the line was. Well, the line wasn't where the line was, so that's why we're asking for the variance.
I also did suggest to his wife on property that this, if the board does choose to approve this, would resolve the situation more or less. However, they may wish to go back and eventually do some sort of lot amendment to get the lot line more where everybody understood it was, even though that's not where it accurately was, for the long-term posterity of, if they get a new neighbor that maybe doesn't have the same understanding they do with each other.
My suspicion is that the neighbors are not going to change. This is on a really pretty cove on the lake. Their families own their property forever. Our family's been there for 43 years, and my son said they're going to bury me in the backyard. So I suspect that we'll both have the same properties for quite some time. But we have already talked, they have a lawyer in their family that's looking into that.
Okay.
All right. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
When you build this carport, and I'm sure y'all addressed it, you see y'all both kind of use the area to turn around or whatever, and obviously your neighbor's okay with it, so I'm assuming it's not gonna restrict their turning around cars, or if they've got a party and they've got extra cars there, that's not gonna be an issue for
It won't be
anybody?
any different than it is now. We'll just be covering the area where our cars are normally parked. So there's over 50 feet of turnaround space there between the two houses.
Any other questions? Dustin, would you hand that letter back down this way, please? All right. If the board doesn't have any further questions for the applicant, let me call for anyone else who wishes to comment on this case. This is Spencer, 4116. If not, I'll close the public comment period and turning to the board for discussion or motion.
I have a question.
Yes,
It
sir.
seems like, since I've been here, these older lots, and especially where it's involved with the river and all that stuff, haven't we granted some excessive, what I would call excessive variances? Because this is not.
It's not a standard lot of record
Right.
typically.
Okay, I just make that clear. I thought I was making the right statement.
Years ago, we finally got a reading from the Corps of Engineers on how they viewed these setbacks that the county has. And basically, they told us they don't even reckon, they don't have any opinion. As far as they were concerned, we could build right up to, but not over the
Yeah,
property line.
as long as it doesn't go across the core line.
That's
Okay.
what they told us. Now, and then most of these that you're seeing that have these excessive variances do go back to before the lake was impounded.
I just want to make sure I was voting on something we don't have normally done. We have, as I recall on these, had excessive variance.
Yeah, isn't this on the lake, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the other one, Pebble Point or Pebble
Yes, sir. It-
Drive or whatever it is.
I'm not sure if they back exactly up to the lake, but they do back up to core property.
Yeah, in my mind, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. In regard to 4116, if there are no other questions, floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Have a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
And a second. Discussion on the motion. If there's none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All in favor can vote no. Excuse me. All in favor, aye. All opposed, no. Is there any opposition? Okay, and the ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
All right. Our next case is 4117. Caleb Creighton, on behalf of Dr. Lucas Bryant, is requesting a variance of 10 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 20 feet. The variance will allow the proposed addition to be 10 feet from the west side yard property line. The property is located at 219 Shoreline Drive, Lot 10, Spin Lake, Group C, Parcel 10, on Wilson County Tax Map 12M. The property consists of 1.051 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4117.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance of 10 feet from the west side yard requirement of 20 feet. The zoning ordinance states that primary structures on A1 zone property must be a minimum of 20 feet from the side property line. This is not an older tract of record, therefore staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4117? Yes, sir.
My name's Caleb Creighton. I'm actually a builder and developer. I know Dr. Lucas Bryant. My wife actually works with him. He owns Refine Plastic Surgery just down here over the overpass in Mount Juliet. Not here, we're in Lebanon, sorry. I'm from Nashville. We're trying to get variance to build an addition on his first floor. And he owns the adjacent lot as well, which it doesn't say that. That lot, southwest, that's also owned by him. And we were going to do a replat, but it's grandfathered in right now. And so if we touch that or do a replat with the property line, we lose that grandfather clause, and it's required to be, I think, 80,000 square feet minimum lot, even though there's 47 other homes in the subdivision that are all $1 million plus homes at this size lot. So combining it doesn't make sense for him, for property taxes, nothing. So we're just trying to build an addition on that meets his needs without going going overboard and having to combine the two lots to make the 8,000 foot requirement that will be required. And it wouldn't be that big of an issue for him because he owns both, but it's not desired. And the addition will be attached to a structure, a permanent part of the house, not an accessory dwelling, nothing like that, just another office.
Okay, questions from the board for the applicant?
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
What kind of addition or does it want to put on the house? To the garage?
Oh, no, so he's putting another garage bay on the opposite side, but that's not in violation. This side's gonna be an office space or a bedroom, something to expand. He needs a bigger office, honestly.
Okay.
And when was this lot created?
I wanna say 93. I wanna say it was platted in 93.
We thought it was 97.
Okay.
Okay, but it's not an older lot.
No, it doesn't predate 1974.
Spin Lake subdivision, if you're familiar with that. They're older than
Okay, gotcha. Other questions for the applicant?
What he stated about the grandfather's got to do with the new law that was passed regarding lot size. So if he modifies this lot, then it's gotta go by, it's gotta be. an
80,000 square feet.
Yeah. I hadn't really ever thought about that. What?
Might ought to.
Yeah, well, it's a little late thing about it now. I'm not the one, I didn't make that, I didn't have anything to do with the
We
rules.
missed it by a few months because you guys
Yeah,
just passed that.
That's
May.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, explain that, Tom. Now, there's two lots here, and they go back to the 90s, right? Or maybe Chris needs to do this, whichever one of y'all is most familiar.
Away from one lot and add to the other.
So we can't move the property line or anything like that, or they'll be in trouble with the new.
If you
lot
modify the
lines?
property line significantly, they burn what would be the grandfather from that new zone lot size requirement.
All right. Okay. And this is agricultural, so it's gotta be 80,000 feet. And when you say significantly, what do you,
I think in the past, if it wasn't significant, it wouldn't be changing the acreage of either property, it would be a property swap in essence.
so it'd be like a quid pro quo, it would be
Each lot
taken
would
from
still be
one.
the same acreage.
We've done some triangle swaps for driveway encroachments and things like that over the past. We're talking about, Mike was looking at me, the county attorney. The gentleman owns the lot next to it, and these are they're A1 zone lots that were previously subdivided under the 40,000 square foot requirement, but he can't move the lot line to get the room he needs for this addition on the house without burning his grandfather.
You could skew the lot line, move it 20 foot at the front, 20 foot at the back, the opposite direction, and not need the variance,
Possibly.
and you would,
We'd probably grant it as a
you
staff-approved
probably- You
project.
would do that by staff in-house.
Mhm.
I believe that may go against the requirements for the road frontage and max or minimum required building width at building site on the adjacent lot if we were to do that. I had a surveyor come out and we were originally going down that avenue until we discovered the recent change. So pulling all of the minimum requirements, it would shrink that building size down significantly. 20 feet in the back, there's also soil, good soil back there, and it's right now perked for a 4-bedroom house. If we skew that too much, it goes below 10,000 square feet, then as talking to the soil conservation TDEC, they had said we wouldn't even be able to hold a 3-bedroom house, which I think is the minimum requirements of the subdivision.
What's this extra line here? The green line, I'm assuming, is a property line, right?
That is the proposed property line. No.
What is this line right over here?
That's the proposed. We were originally going down that route.
Okay.
To annex a portion of the lot or redraw the boundary line. But then we were like, well, you guys should request a variance instead because.
But this would work, this property line? when
Yes, that property line, if we were to move that there and we could keep it,
But when you move it, then you lose your.
I lose my grandfather
Because
clause.
there's no
Could this
offset.
board grant relief from that? I'm just asking.
It would make,
If we were to let him move the property line, but not have to follow the new guideline of having 80,000 square foot.
No, they would get a variance on 80,000 as opposed to. a
And
variance
I
on
don't know if that's even
Yeah, I don't
right.
know that we can do it. I mean, you can make
Forget
adjustments
about
if
it.
you want to, but as far as the zoning ordinance, that
they'd have to apply for that variance, and then
All right. That'd be,
And
that's
without-
something we don't want to get into then.
vested interest, then we'd be on shaky
Right.
ground.
Yeah.
Can I?
However, when did y'all start planning on this?
We've been planning with it for a while. He's on his own business, so he's a busy guy. So getting him tracked down a lot of times. We've been working on this for quite some time. Probably say
Defined quite some time.
a year or so. Been starting to get the ball rolling. At first it was a pool and addition.
So it's your testimony that they started working on this a year or more ago?
Yeah, getting the ideas to me and getting me involved. When they really took up the ball and we started getting serious, it was like, okay.
But in the meantime, then the county changed the ordinance, and it's caused you a hardship.
Yes, yes, that's the issue.
All right, have I called for anyone else to testify? Anyone else want to testify? No. If not, then we'll close the public hearing, if I haven't already, in regard to this case, and turn into the board. 4117, do I have a discussion or motion? I'll make a motion that we approve the variance based on the fact that the county changed the lot size requirements after the applicant stating he was planning this project. So that's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board. Not all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Case 4112, Todd. Anyone here to represent 4112, Todd? Are you that person, sir? Okay.
Brian Keith, K&A Land Surveying, representing the owner, Mr. James Todd. I apologize that we didn't fit in the agenda where we were originally intended to be. There was a little miscommunication on who was representing this case, so I'm here now.
No, just, I've already read the case, right? We've already
Yes.
read the case, and we called for the applicant. They weren't here, so we're ready for testimony. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we have presented, this lot is at the end of Ben Forkum Drive in a fairly new subdivision. We presented a plat amendment to remove the PUDE on the easterly property line, which left this lot with a 10-foot NBSL building setback line. And so that's why we're here today, to ask for a variance of 9 feet on that NBSL to add a pool house on this lot. And normally,
You want a 90% variance? Is that what I'm hearing? On a new lot for a swimming pool house? Is that what we're doing?
9 foot out of 10.
That's 90%.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Normally, in these situations, the adjoining property would be a residential lot, but in this case, if you are looking at the recorded plat, the adjoining property to the east is not a buildable lot. It is open space for the subdivision, so it will not have a residence on it at any time. For that reason, the homeowner is asking for a variance to add this pool house, which would not infringe on anyone else from a setback
Who owns the
standpoint.
open space? Is that part of the HOA?
That would be part of the reserve, yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So my point was that that's not going to, the asking of this variance is not going to infringe on anyone else's normal subdivision regulation rights. So for that reason, we would ask for this board to approve this variance, and I'll answer any questions that you guys may have.
I've got one question. Mr. Crockett that did this survey, he's not any part of this request?
He is not.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board for the applicant?
I got one.
Go right ahead.
Look at this picture where the existing pool Is this area you're talking about putting a cabana? It would be a foot away from the fence, the way you're looking at?
It's gonna be here. See how this setback gets so close to the house right here?
Okay.
This is where it goes.
See which one is different. I don't know
You got it down in the corner.
So it's back over here.
What you have, yeah, that's a different drawing. That's not my drawing.
Okay, this is what was provided to us, so.
Is it not accurate, or that is accurate?
He says it's the same distance off the
That is
fence.
accurate.
Okay.
The drawing was submitted by the property owner.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
that's
got you.
part of the confusion here.
I got you.
So we have a picture, this has not been built yet.
No, sir.
Okay.
Other questions from the board?
What is the, I guess this doesn't infringe on the rear property, but just out of curiosity, what adjoins this property to the rear?
That is also the reserve of Horn Springs.
So there's not
There's
no
not, there's not,
residence on
there's
the
not a
rear of this
residential
property?
lot, no, sir.
And that like cannot ever be residential? No, okay,
Not by the plat.
okay.
Plus there's easements, there, it's full of easements back there, so even if there was some way that someone ever tried to develop it, you can't get rid of those easements. They're utility easements.
Yeah, Chris, I want you to hear you say, do you agree that the lot to the side that this variance is being asked for on that side is not developable?
It is not, this is also unique, this is in a gated community, which has a maximum amount of 50 lots. They have already maxed those out, so they won't, even if they wanted to build a house, they'd have to come back and request a variance for that to get an additional residence approved. The lot to the east is, it's public open space, and then farther east off screen is part of their detention facility. They have a wet pond there that collects water for the development. And then on the north side, it is actually the sewer easement for the wastewater authority for the main force main. The drip field for that is just farther north off the screen, so there's not going to be a potential to develop or sell off that one for development unless they make an agreement with the wastewater authority.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fine. All right, any other questions for the applicant? And if not, does anyone else here wish to address this case? And if not, I'll close the public comment period and turn it to the board for a motion or discussion.
Question.
Yes, sir.
If the motion isn't made to pass this variance, can it be worded as such, what it was based on, that the land next to us not?
It could be based on testimony given.
Right.
Is that-
Okay. I just
is that
want
not
somebody
right?
to come back and say, well, you had 90% variance, and we all look and wonder, why did we do that?
Like we were earlier today?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's also, I would think, what I would consider a very odd shaped lot. You know, it kind of runs down to a triangle and it's on a cul-de-sac. It's got some unique, to me, it's got some very unique characteristics.
We just need to document the property.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve 41112 based on the testimony that the lot to the rear and to the east is not developable property. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. If there's no discussion, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Staff have anything else we need to take up?
No, sir. Good luck at the fair.
We are adjourned.